You don't start as a monster. You start as a favor. That's the first thing people get wrong about the Mafia. They imagine the violence comes first, a gun on a table, a body in a trunk, a man in a dark suit making threats in a smoke-filled back room. But that isn't how your life begins. It begins with somebody knowing your uncle, somebody remembering your father, somebody saying you're a good kid who can be useful. At first, no one calls you an enforcer. You're just around, hanging near the social club, running errands, delivering envelopes you don't open, standing quietly in corners while older men talk in half sentences and unfinished glances. You learn early that in this world, silence is worth more than charm. You notice who gets laughed at and who gets obeyed, who pays for dinner and who never reaches for the bill, which names are spoken out loud and which names make a room go still. Before you ever raise a hand to anyone, you learn the first rank, associate muscle. You're not made, not even close. You're just useful. At this level, your job is mostly presence. You stand by the door when somebody needs to be reminded that a debt is overdue. You ride along when a bookmaker needs his cash collected. You accompany a shy businessman to the back table where men with pinky rings explain why his problem can disappear for a price. Most days, no one gets hurt. That's what surprises you. Real organized crime isn't chaos. It's structure. And structure hates unnecessary noise. Your job as low-level muscle is not to fight. It's to make fighting seem inevitable if someone makes the wrong choice. That means learning how to look patient, how to stay calm, how to let silence do half the work. When violence does happen, it's usually brief and ugly. A broken nose in a parking lot, a hand slammed to the car door, a man dragged into an alley and returned with a new understanding of his payment schedule. Nothing cinematic, no speeches, no dramatic last words, just lessons. If you prove reliable, if you don't talk, don't drink too much, don't panic, and don't skim from envelopes that are not yours, you move up. Now you become a collector. This is where your face starts to mean something. People recognize you, not in newspapers, not in public, but in the neighborhoods that matter. Bartenders go a little quieter when you walk in. Shop owners smile too quickly. Men who owe money suddenly remember they were expecting you. As a collector, you are no longer there just to stand and glare. Now you represent a number, gambling debts, protection payments, loan interest, percentages from businesses that never asked for protection in the first place. Every week, money moves upward, and your job is to keep it moving. At this rank, you learn the real secret of organized crime. It is not built on murder. It is built on accounting. Violence gets remembered. Numbers keep the machine alive. You carry notebooks, memorize schedules, know who's late, who's lying, who's stalling, and who's one bad week away from becoming an example. You also learn that fear has to be measured carefully. Too little, and no one pays. Too much, and people panic, run to police, or disappear. You are not there to destroy the neighborhood. You are there to harvest it. And if you do the job well, if money arrives on time and problems stay small, someone notices. Then you become what people imagine from the start, a button man. Now, the world changes, because up until this point, you were intimidation, pressure, consequences. Now you are finality. A button man is trusted with the work no one discusses directly. A beating can be walked back. A threat can be denied. But a murder changes the weather around everyone connected to it. It brings police, gossip, retaliation, paranoia. Which means if they hand you this role, it means two things. They trust you. Second, they are willing to lose you if things go wrong. The first time you're given a contract, no one says it plainly. They talk around it. They say someone is a problem. Someone has no respect. Someone has forgotten how to behave. The meaning reaches you without ever fully entering the room. This rank is where morality stops asking for your opinion. You wait outside an apartment, in a car, near a social club, in a restaurant parking lot. You learn habits, routes, girlfriends, side entrances, church schedules. Then one day, the order comes, and after that, there is a before and after in your life that no amount of money can smooth over. People romanticize hitmen as cold professionals. Sometimes they are. More often, they are men who learned to shut doors inside themselves and keep moving. At this level, Paranoia becomes part of your bloodstream. You watch mirrors. You study passing cars. You notice if the same face appears in two different places. You stop sleeping deeply. Every knock at the door feels like a message from one side or the other. Because now you understand something the lower ranks can ignore. The organization uses violence carefully, but it uses people carelessly. A good button man is valuable. A dead one is convenient. If you survive long enough, and if your nerves hold, you move higher. Now you become crew muscle. Not just a trigger. Not just a collector. A regular instrument of a made guy or capo. You oversee gambling rooms, rough up stubborn debtors, escort shipments, settle disputes, and make sure the boss's interests remain undisturbed in your part of the city. This is the first level where younger guys start looking at you the way you once looked at older men. They watch how you talk, how long you let silence sit, whether you lose your temper, whether you have to prove yourself every 5 minutes, or whether people simply understand what happens if they push too far. At this rank, violence becomes managerial. You don't just carry it out. You decide when it should happen, how much is needed, and who should deliver it. That sounds like power, and in a way it is, but it's also responsibility. If you crack the wrong skull, start the wrong feud, embarrass the wrong cousin of the wrong captain, the consequences roll uphill and then back down onto you. By now, you also see the truth beneath the glamour. The expensive suits are often leased through debt. The dinners are business meetings. The laughter is cautious. The men with reputations don't trust their best friends. And every room has an invisible seating chart made of fear. If you keep rising, eventually you become the kind of enforcer whose name travels ahead of him. Senior muscle, chief enforcer, the man sent when a simple warning is no longer enough. At this level, your job is not just violence. It's symbolism. If you show up, everyone understands the matter has entered a new stage. You are sent to break strikes, silence witnesses, recover stolen money, punish disloyal associates, and remind ambitious younger men that the family had killers before they were born and will have them after they're gone. This rank sounds powerful because it is, but it is also where your life gets very small. You can't really go anywhere unexpected. You can't trust strangers. You can't lose your temper in public. You can't let yourself get arrested for something stupid, because police already know your face and are waiting to pin larger things on you. Women become risks. Old friends become risks. Even family gatherings become risks if someone decides that a crowded christening is the perfect place to send a message. You live inside caution. And then, if you are extremely dangerous, extremely loyal, and extremely lucky, you reach the final rank an enforcer can ever really have. You become the boss's violence. Not the boss himself. Men like you rarely become boss. Too visible, too stained, too useful in exactly one direction. But you become the hand he keeps hidden until something truly matters. At this level, nobody talks tough around you. Nobody confuses you with street trash. Even made men lower their voices. You are what gets deployed when betrayal crosses from rumor into proof, when a captain starts withholding money, when an informant must disappear before sunrise, when another family has mistaken restraint for weakness. You no longer chase debts. Others do that. You no longer wait in cars for hours unless the target matters. You no longer need to introduce yourself. The room does it for you. And that sounds like the peak. But really, it is the edge. Because once you become essential violence, your existence is a problem that must eventually be solved. You know too much. You've seen who ordered what. You know which murders were approved, which were freelance, which cops were paid, which judges were compromised, which captains smiled at funerals for men they betrayed. The stronger your position becomes, the narrower your future gets. There are only 3 exits from this rank: prison, a grave, or betrayal packaged as promotion. Maybe they send you to oversee something far away. Maybe they praise your loyalty right before deciding you are too dangerous to leave alive. Maybe a younger crew wants your place and offers federal agents a map of your whole life in exchange for a lighter sentence. That is the final truth of being every rank of Mafia enforcer. At the bottom, you think violence is power. In the middle, you realize violence is labor. At the top, you understand violence is also liability. That's what people outside never quite grasp. The enforcer is feared, yes, respected sometimes, but he is never safe. The more useful he becomes, the less possible an ordinary future gets. You cannot build a normal old age out of broken teeth, blood debts, and secrets everyone pretends not to know. By the end, your whole life has been narrowed into one specialty: making fear feel organized. And once that is all you are, the organization starts asking the same question every machine asks about its sharpest tool: how long before it turns in the wrong direction? So what was your life like as every rank of Mafia enforcer? At first, you were a favor. Then you were a warning. Then you were a debt collector. Then you were a killer. Then you were an instrument. And finally, you became a man so dangerous that even the people who fed you had to sleep lightly. That's the ladder. Not from nobody to king, from useful to feared to disposable. Because in that world, the enforcer is never the story's winner. He is the pressure that keeps the story moving until the day the pressure has to be released. And when that day comes, the machine does what it always does. It acts like you were never anything personal, just business.